Awesome. I know you're just looking forward to that. Like, how did you get your start on YouTube? PubCom 111. So just remember me when you get your YouTube awards or whatever that is. So how are we? What's new? Anything noteworthy, worth sharing out loud and not in a chat box? I imagine this class would be very talkative and distracted very easily, and myself included, if we were all meeting in person. Do you guys get that feel too? A few of you, yeah. We're a little bit crazy. There might be some people coming down the hall to check on us just to see what's going on. So, all right. So today is going to be a full class period, but I wanted to give you kind of the big picture view of what the next week or so is going to look like, and then we'll back up and we'll start today. Does that work for you? All right, so next week is your introductory speech. So you'll be delivering your introductory speech either on Monday, Wednesday, or Friday next week. I have posted the dates and the speech order on Canvas, so when you have a chance, go ahead and look at that. If you have a concern about when you're going, please message me. We can always change things. Remember, these speeches are 2 to 3 minutes. I'm scheduling 7 of you a day. So the very minimum, it's 14 to 21 minutes just in speeches for the day. And we know there's usually a minute or so in kind of transitioning. So I say that to say that most of those days will not be the full 55 minutes, but just in case, we have them blocked. So we might be like 30 minutes, 35 minutes, 40 minutes, but for those 3 days, the main thing is I want you to focus on speeches those days. Any questions about speeches and that? And we'll talk more about the actual speech today and on Wednesday as well. So as far as what is required of you, as far as assignments for this week, due for next week, the main thing I want you to focus on is your introductory speech. You have one assignment due between now and next Monday, and that is your outline for your introductory speech. And so today we're going to talk about a way that you can do a speech outline that's a little different than what your book talks about. And then my hope is that you will create that outline and you will submit it to me as your class equivalent assignment. So submit it to me by 10:15 a.m. on Friday, and I will give you feedback on that outline. And that outline is the outline that you can use in preparing the final steps of your introductory speech. Does this make sense? So the only thing that you have due before your introductory speech is that outline. If you get it to me sooner, I'll give you feedback sooner. But my hope is to get you the feedback by the end of the day or early morning Saturday, so that you can, if you get it to me Friday, because I can pretty much on Canvas open it and give pretty quick feedback. It's just having the time to do that. So the next week you'll deliver your speeches, but you'll also have some chapters to read and do assignments on in addition to that. So does that sound fair? Alrighty. Any questions on introductory speech or that? No, okay, let me make sure I've learned if I put it in full screen with this class, I can see everybody on one screen, but then I don't see the chat or anything, so I need to fix that. Awesome. All right, so any questions on, I believe you had chapters 10 and 11. Any questions on introductions, conclusion, organizing the body of your speech, all that fun stuff? No? Cool. We're gonna switch things up a little bit. It's no different in person and online, so you're getting a real experience. I am going to I'm going to share a video. It's an introductory speech, and it's one that needs improvement. And I'm going to show it. It's about 1 minute and 40 seconds long. So about, back to that 2 to 3 minute length that we're talking about. And it's about someone introducing a classmate. So similar to what you will be doing. So we'll show it. I'm going to put you in some breakout groups, and I want you and your group to critique it and provide feedback. We'll bring you back in. We'll talk about it as a class, meaning a representative from your group can speak up and share. and then we can watch the final version of that speech, and then based off of that conversation, I'll kind of figure out where we need to go from there. That sound good? Okay, so let me go ahead and get that started. Try and change the resolution. All right. When it gets started, if you can see it, give me 1 thumb, and if you can hear it, give me 2 thumbs up. That's the best way for it to work for me. So I'm gonna go ahead and mute my mic because I have to unplug it for this. Okay. Got 1 thumbs up, thank you, and let's do this thing.
Hi everyone, my name is Alex and I'm from California. And last week, Bella and I went to Starbucks Coffee and talked for about 45 minutes, and she told me a lot about her life. For example, she told me that she played varsity soccer for 3 years in high school, which was very impressive to me because she actually won state championships her junior and senior year, which is thrilling for her. I don't know a lot about soccer, but Bella explained to me that she was a midfielder, which means that she had to have a lot of endurance and can even run like marathons, which is crazy to me. I'm terrible at anything athletic. Bella grew up in Minnesota, which is really far away from where I grew up in California, but we actually had a lot of childhood experiences in common. Like she would go to the state fair all the time, and my family and I used to go to the state fair in California. Bella also loves to travel. For example, she went to New York and the Dominican Republic for spring break last year, and I would love to do some traveling too. But not everything is roses and unicorns for Bella because she has night terrors. She explained to me that these are dreams that are so scary and vivid that she'll wake herself up in the middle of the night. But in most things, she's fearless, just not when she's asleep.
All right, pretty amazing speech, right? Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and put you into breakout groups, and I would like for you to spend a little bit of time talking about it. It's not going to be the full 6 or 7 minutes. I haven't mastered the timer yet, so just kind of ignore that part. And then I'll send you a message, but spend about 4 or 5 minutes in your group talking about what you thought was done well, what was done terrible, and we'll go from there. Sound good? All right. Oh wait, I can change the time. I'm getting smarter. Okay, I'll see you guys in about 5 minutes. I just assign you to a breakout room, so you should be going, hopefully.
means she uses a lot of endurance. During her team won state championship, even though she has no idea exactly what she wants to do with her life. Soon, she plans on joining a sorority and starting.
Awesome. All right. So I'm going to just call on someone. I just wrote down one person from each group. That person doesn't have to speak, but I'd like someone from each group to speak. So would someone from Shelby's group tell me what you thought, or what was good, what wasn't good? Give me one or two things.
We said that what was good was like her voice projection, and her main ideas were like good and they flowed together kind of throughout the speech. But she was flipping through her notes a lot, which was like distracting, and she didn't really give us like the three main points in the beginning. She didn't really have an introduction.
Okay. Joanna, someone from your group or you?
Our group talked about how when she first started her introduction, there's no like hook to grab the audience. She just kind of like starts like going in. And then she didn't talk about, like, she didn't introduce her main points at that, like, inside of her intro paragraph. And she talks about herself too much. So it seems like every time she mentions something about her partner, she has to relate it back to her. And her like voice was good at the speech, but yeah.
Awesome. Maggie, does your group want to add anything?
Okay, so for the pros, we said she got a lot of info about her partner. And the cons, we said she kind of made it a little bit about herself because she kept comparing like herself to her partner, and she did say a lot. So yeah.
Yeah. Marley's group.
We talked about her eye contact was pretty good other than the flipping of the notes, and she seemed pretty confident in what she was saying, even though not all of it was the best content. She did, like, she would mention a point and then move on to the next one really quickly. The only one she really elaborated on a ton was the soccer main point, and so the off balance of points was a little bit wonky.
Okay. Savannah's group.
We talked about how she always related back to herself, and she didn't have like a thriller, like, wow, a hook statement that got the audience on board before she started her main points.
Yeah. And then Taylor's group.
He said that she had good confidence, that she spoke with a lot of confidence, and that she spoke really clearly, but she did look at her notes a lot, and she could have a stronger intro and conclusion and just a stronger central idea, since we didn't really know, like, going into the speech what her 3 main points would be. And I think that some points could have just like been worded better, but yeah.
Awesome. So here's my analysis. Here's my critique of the whole thing. The speaker is generally a great speaker. She is confident. She knows how to give a great presentation. But in this case, she didn't prepare. Her notes, I believe, were simply her notes that she used when she was meeting and interviewing her classmate. And so she had all this information. And the reason that didn't sound like she had key points or anything is because she never structured a speech. She simply just took what she learned and maybe thought about it a little bit and then read her notes to the class. Does that make sense? Can you guys see how I got to that conclusion? And so, and what that says is, man, they did all the time. She took all the time and took the effort to get to know her classmate, which is probably the most time-consuming part of your speech, but she failed to do the part that matters, and that's organizing the information. And so we'll talk about that right now, and then we'll go back and watch her final version of the speech. So I want to go ahead and pull up a PowerPoint. No, it's not as creative as what I made in the past, so I hope you're not too bummed out by that. If you are, just go watch the video of that PowerPoint that you really liked. Okay. Let's open this up. All right, can you all see my blue background with my text? Okay, so you are now to my right, so when I look this way, that means I'm looking at you. So this is just a really quick recap of the introduction, body, conclusion, and what you should have learned. It is also going to include some of my commentary and notes for you. So if you have any questions, just throw something in the chat box so I can see that, and then we'll go from there. So let's get started. So your speech introduction, hopefully by now you are aware that there's a few key points. The first is you want to get the attention and interest of your audience. You want to hook them. You want to get them interested because, listen, I'm not right now, if you want to give a speech on politics, I don't want to listen. And I know that completely comes from a place of privilege but I'm tired. Like I just texted my friend today and I'm like, hey, can it just be December 24th already? Like, can we be on? But how can you present that information in a way that will get my attention, will make me interested? Now, sometimes this is posed in a question, sometimes this is in a hypothetical story. So think about how you can do that. And you don't want to start your speech, hi, today I'm going to give you a speech, or today I'm going to tell you. But maybe you have a question that you can ask, a rhetorical question, one that they think about that you don't want to, because if you're not careful in how you present a question in a speech, people will start to interject, raise your hand. And I promise you, when that happens, it's completely distracting. You will lose track of where you are, but you will also lose track of your, not just the flow, but your time. And so you don't want your audience to take your time. So, hey, have you ever met someone who is just so hardworking that you're amazed? Like, you can do things like that. You can ask hypothetical or rhetorical questions. Maybe you tell a story. Imagine being 3 years old and being lost at Disneyland. You can do things like that to really hook us and get our attention. It sounds really kind of weird, but maybe to some of you, but it's worth it. Get us interested, because if you don't get our attention in the first 7 seconds or so, we're checked out. Think about it. How many of you watch YouTube? How many watch stuff on YouTube? Okay, I watch things on YouTube all the time for work, for fun, for hobbies. Just the other day, I was looking, actually this morning, even I was looking at how to fix my hot tub because like the plug is broken. I'm like, how do I change that? But here's the deal. Like, yes, if it's not a good quality video, I don't want anything to do with it. If it's terrible quality sound, I stop. But I give them about 7 seconds before I decide whether or not I'm going to continue with that video. Fair assessment? Maybe a little longer, sometimes maybe a little less. Same with your speech. Do you want us to be engaged? Do you want us to be interested? Work on that hook. You're also gonna have to introduce the topic. It's great to hook us, it's great to lead us on, but don't like make us ask, what is the speech about the whole entire time? So in your introduction, you reveal a topic, you need to establish your credibility and goodwill. Now, this isn't saying, I'm an extremely credible person and I am honest, so you should trust me. Like, hopefully you are, but you can be the greatest liar in the world and we would still trust you if you establish credibility and goodwill. What does this mean? Well, if you're talking about something medical and you wore a white doctor's lab coat, that gives you credibility. How you dress gives you credibility. If you wanted to talk about reform in healthcare and maybe a bill or something that was coming up in that sense that's political, and you showed up barefoot with shorts and a tank top, you might not have the same credibility if you dressed up in something that was more business wardrobe, related. Same thing is if you're going to talk about outdoors and adventuring, if you wear a suit and tie or a dress and you're talking about going outdoors, opting outdoors, you're not going to be as credible as if you showed up wearing, your Birkenstocks and that. Does this make sense? Okay. So credibility is yes, it's about what you say and how you say it, but it's more so about how you present the information and the intention behind it. And if you're going to talk about something controversial, how do you talk about the people who resist what you're saying or on the opposite side? If you act like a bully, then that's going to affect your credibility. If you act like someone who truly understands, cares, and can relate to both sides, then that helps. Any questions on that? Hopefully this is a super quick recap. Then you're going to preview the body of the speech. You're going to look into it. You're going to tell us what it's going to be about. And in that, you're going to have your preview is going to be where your central idea is. Remember, your central idea is usually the last sentence of your introduction, and it's your thesis statement. So moving on, we go to the body of the speech. Any questions on introduction? Hopefully that was a good recap. Okay. Body of the speech should contain 2 to 5 main points. For your partner speech, you're probably going to be 2, maybe 3 main points for the sake of time. If I gave you 10 minutes to give a speech on your partner, you may be closer to 5 main points. Also, your transitions is a huge part of the body of your speech. When I say transitions, I want you to think of, have any of you played Mario Kart? Yeah, it's okay to embrace it. We have Mario Kart in my household. Actually, we still have the Wii, which I realize is like almost, 10, 15 years old, but we play it all the time. And so, but in Mario Kart, if you played it, it's a racing game with all the Mario characters. And you get different kind of cars, and there's like turtle shells that are hurled at you to try and knock you off, and then things like that. But there's these little strips in the road on some of the levels, and they're like rainbow strips. And if you go over them, it's like a speed booster. And so when you have a really good transition, it's like that speed booster in Mario Kart where like, okay, I'm doing all right in the race, I'm doing all right in the race. Or maybe you spun out, you hit a banana peel, you spun out. You need that, but you have that written out. It's like that speed booster that's going to get you back into the race. And so we'll talk a little bit more about that analogy as we move on, but that's your body. Your body is your main point with your subpoints, all that information, and your transitions. And remember, what's your order? Is it topical order? Is it chronological order? I know I'm going really fast. Anyone freaking out right now? It's just all good. Okay, we're good. All right. Conclusion, signal that the speech is ending. If you've ever been on an airplane, when you start to get ready to land, yeah, you start to feel the plane is descending, but then someone comes on the intercom and they're like, ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking, or this is the crew, we're about to land the plane. Please put your tray tables in your seats back into the upright position. Stow small children and, hold on to your pets because pets are more important than children on planes. And so whatever it is, they start to give you this speech. Put your seats up, put your trays up, put your bags away, strap everybody down, and we're about to descend. And they tell you to, do not take your seatbelt off. They tell you that you're about to land. Same thing with a speech. your speech needs to, you need to, in your, this should say conclusion, not introduction on the bottom. I just realized that. But your speech should say that in your conclusion, you're about to land a plane. Again, that should say conclusion. Then you need to reinforce the central idea. If you've ever written an essay, what does your conclusion in your essay contain? You can either say it or throw it in the chat box. What does your conclusion in your essay usually contain? Again.
Thesis.
Yes, you restate your thesis. And so if you're reinforcing the central idea in your conclusion, not your introduction, like the slide says, you're going to restate your central idea. So a way you can say that is, now that I have told you about this person's passion for X, Y, and Z, I hope you understand. So you basically restate it and maybe give a little bit more support for the whole topic of the speech. The last thing, this is not textbook, this is all me, drop the mic. All right, when you're done, just don't be like, and that's all I got. And or my favorite is, thank you. Right? Let us know you're done. Drop the mic. And I'm not saying you need to have this epic ending for every one of your speeches, but maybe for your partner speech, you have a question. Wouldn't you want a friend like this person? Or maybe it's you know, that rhetorical question, or maybe it's a call to action. You know, so I think you should all take an opportunity to meet this person before, you know, however it looks. Drop the mic. When you're giving bigger speeches, what is it that you're going to do? And I'm not saying to shock and awe. I'm saying that, man, that was so good. Like, we are just amazed by it. So everyone put your mic hand out like that. Drop it. All right, I want you to practice that exercise. When you're done with your speech, when you're done practicing, I want you to stick your hand out and drop it. If it felt like, man, I just dropped the mic, you got it. Keep it up. If it felt like, this is the lamest thing ever, you're not quite there. Make sense? All right, all right. Now you're wishing that you didn't have my class. Okay, so let me recap. This is my version. In this speech, you're going to tell us what you're going to tell us, and you're going to tell us, and you're going to tell us what you told us. Let me say that again. You're going to tell us what you're going to tell us. You're going to tell us. You're going to tell us what you told us. This is the simplest way to explain how the introduction, body, and conclusion work. So let me go on. In the introduction of your speech, you're going to tell us what you're going to tell us. You're going to get us hooked, and you're going to tell us what the speech is about. Hence, to tell us what you're going to tell us, that's your central idea. So tell us what you're going to tell us. And in the body of the speech, you're going to tell us. Now that you've told us what you're going to tell us, tell us. You following? Following? Isn't this way better? If I wrote a textbook, this would be 1 page instead of like 7 chapters. Okay. And then when you're done, at the conclusion, you're going to tell us what you told us. So in the body of the speech, you are going to tell us. And so after you told us in the body of the speech, you're going to tell us again what you told us. So if you can look at your speech outline and you can say, I'm going to tell them what I'm going to tell them, I'm telling them, and now I'm telling them what I told them, you have successfully outlined your speech. So remember, tell us what you're going to tell us, tell us what you told us. So if you were to write an outline, the way that I would recommend for you, your book offers different ways of outlining your speech. This is what I would recommend, is for your introduction of your speech, write it out. Write it out word for word. When you get nervous in a speech, it's rarely in the middle of the speech. The most of your nerves come from the introduction. So if you are not as prepared as you want to be, but you wrote an excellent outline, you've written out your introduction. And so sometimes if you've ever flown on a plane, I know I'm using this analogy again, but as you go to take off, you know, they fasten your seatbelt, we're going to taxi out, we're number 17 in line for the runway, and oh, there's an electrical storm out the window. Hopefully we can take off. Have any of you had that experience? It's not fun. But write it out. Write your full hook, write your full word for word, complete sentences, introduction. Like if you were just going to read it to us, it would be perfect. And I don't say that because I encourage you to read it to us. I say that because if you freak out or something catches you off guard, this is going to give you the momentum you need to keep going in the speech. Now, some of the tips that I give you is, depending on how you structure your notes, increase the font size. A lot of times if you take your paper and you have font size of what my DMV paperwork looks like right here. I know it's kind of hard to see because of the screen share stuff. It's not working. Okay. Exactly. You can't see it anyways because it's so small. So you want to increase the font size on your notes. Now, if you are using index cards, if that's actually what I recommended, you may not be able to increase the font size beyond like size 8 or 10. But one of the things you could do is use 1.5 spacing. You could also do like 1.2 spacing. The more space, I believe what I'm using in here is 1.5. The more space you have, that white space helps you to really focus on the text that you are referring to, so you don't jumble it up as easy. It's also important to use a lot of different paragraph indentations and things like that, just to separate your thoughts, your sentences, and you may even want to put some delivery cues in there. Like if you ask a really good rhetorical question, you might want to say pause. You might want to give, it's almost theatrical. You might even want to say, lower your voice, quietly tell this, or raise your voice. Just following, okay? The body of the speech, my recommendation to you is do not write out word for word. Your transition sentences, yes, write out your sentence word for word, because that's your Mario Kart little rainbow booster that's going to get you through. If you stumble in between main points, your written out transition is going to help put you back into the race so that your next point can go smooth. But in this case, I highly, highly, highly encourage and recommend bullet them. Bullet it shouldn't be subpoenas, it should be subpoints. This is what happens when you're working on your PowerPoint late at night. So this is why you should prepare your visual aids in advance, which is something we will be learning in a couple of weeks. So I'm glad you don't know that now. So, and then if you have quotations, write them out word for word. You don't want to try and remember what someone said word for word. You want to write it out. Even in the case of the TED Talk, which is a speech where I say no notes, if you have a quotation, I still encourage you to have that written out so that you don't mess it up. That doesn't mean you can use quotes for your whole speech. That doesn't work. But the reason why the body of the speech, you want to bullet it, is because if you try to write it out word for word, you focus on either reading it or memorizing it. And if you focus on reading it, then you're not engaged with your audience. You're not making great eye contact. You're more worried about the content being delivered than engaging with your audience. So this helps you to remember it's your audience. I'm one of those weird people that this method really works for me because I feed off of the group I'm with. So for example, teaching on Zoom is really, really hard for me because I want to be able to look at your faces and not the screen. And I want to be able to engage with you and see if you're nodding, if you're engaging. But the other thing is teaching on Zoom is hard because everyone's just got their own world going on around them. They have different distractions. Remember those external interference happening. You might have kids screaming. You might have your mom asking you some question because she forgets every day what time your classes are. Whatever is going on. So we don't have that. And so it's hard to feed off of my audience in this sense. So, but for me, I like the bullets because it helps me. And then if I need to spend more time on something, I can. Then your conclusion, move my little picture out. You want to write it out using complete sentences. Again, if you're planning on a land plane, you want to have it kind of written out so that you can end it well. And again, space it out, make sure it's solid, and so that you can do that. Does this make sense? All right, questions. Hopefully that was 99.99% recap. Okay, remember, tell us what you're going to tell us, and tell us what you told us. And it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Have any of you heard that before? Oh man, I was always told I had a smart mouth by my mother, and it was never a compliment. And it was, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And what she's saying is you're absolutely right in what you're saying, and I agree with you, but the attitude and the demeanor behind it is not appropriate. So keep that in mind. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. You can say that you love this presidential candidate or you hate this presidential candidate. Okay, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Can you talk about a presidential candidate without being mean? You know what, like, I may not agree with our candidate Teddy Bear, but Teddy Bear is super, I can see the value in some of the things that Teddy Bear says. But then Panda Bear over here, like, I agree more with the philosophy of Panda Bear, but I question some of these other things. You can figure out who Teddy and Panda is. I just totally made that up on the spot. So but you can, how you construct your words, how you say it, you can make something controversial, you can make something challenging come across easier. Okay, this is like super crash course, super top speed questions. Is anyone feeling overwhelmed? Okay. So now that we talked about the speech, now that we talked about, I just realized that Duffy and Nathan are in the same room. Are they?
What?
Are you and Nathan in the same room?
No. That would be kind of crazy.
Yeah, you. Okay, I see him now. Okay. Whatever. Okay.
That's
Yeah.
good.
I couldn't figure out what the bantering was because they're the only two that are talking out of the whole class. Yes, I'm calling you out. And then I realized that you have a bookshelf and then he has a bookshelf and it looks very much alike. It's kind of like Finding Waldo. It's really fun. You have a question, Nathan? Do you want to defend yourself?
Oh no, I was just seeing if you could see me.
Oh, yeah. Duffy's name was in front of your face, so I couldn't see it until you, yeah, okay. Anyways, distractions. Again, if we were in person, this class would be like total chaos. All right. So now that we talked about all that, let's go revisit the first video that we watched, but I want to watch the final version of it, and then we can see how well this student, hopefully how well this student adapted what they were doing. So I want you to think about what you saw before, what you heard before, kind of the comments that the class made as far as the class goes, and then let's apply it to this as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and mute my mic real quick while I unplug it. All right. Oops, that failed.
Fear, monsters, the unknown. We all know what it's like to be scared. Our classmate Bella certainly does. Ever since she can remember, she's had night terrors, dreams so vivid and so real that she'll wake herself up in a panic. Once, she even fell out of bed and rammed her chin into a dresser. That's Bella at night. But during the day, she's completely different. She's fearless. She's fearless in athletics, she's fearless in travel, and she's fearless in seizing new opportunities. Bella is fearless when it comes to athletics. In high school, she played on her varsity soccer team for 3 years. That's impressive considering her team won state championships her junior and senior year. On the soccer field, Bella is a midfielder, which means she uses a lot of endurance. Outside the soccer field, she uses her endurance to run marathons. Athletics give Bella bravery. Bravery that she uses in other parts of her life. Other parts, like travel. When she was 7, she traveled to Italy for a family reunion and loved every second of it. Last year, she went to New York and the Dominican Republic, where she participated in Alternative Spring Break. This year, she's going on Alternative Spring Break again, this time in New Orleans. Wherever she travels, Bella looks to expand her horizons. She also looks to expand her horizons by seizing whatever opportunities, large or small, come her way. For example, Bella grew up in Minnesota and often went to the state fair where she tried unusual foods like deep fried butter. In her junior year of high school, she tried being a vegetarian, but that failed miserably. Here at Wisconsin, she wants to be a business major, even though she has no idea exactly what she wants to do with her life. Soon, she plans on joining a sorority and starting a flag football team. Whatever it may be, Bella will be open-minded and seize what life has to offer. An amazing athlete, a seasoned traveler, an open-minded and adventurous person. That's Bella. She's fearless. Except when it comes to the occasional night terror.
All right, tell me what you thought.
It's a lot better.
What made it better? You know
The,
I'm going to ask that.
no, I know. Everything that everyone said about it, the page flipping, all of her points were very concise and like they transition really well. Can you stop staring at me? And then like I think like her introduction was really good too, and the way she finished it.
Okay. So someone tell me about the introduction. What made the introduction good or better?
So, go for it, Kayla. It's like,
You can do it. You can go for it.
okay, thank you. So basically in the intro, she actually brought up the points that she was gonna make. And there's a really vigorous hook. I don't know if that's the right word, but there was a good hook, start out with. It really got me intrigued.
Okay. Good. Kayla, did you want to add to that?
She also, unlike the previous speech, talked about her main points in the conclusion, and like had like that transition into the body paragraphs.
What was some of maybe the poetic language, for lack of better words, or descriptive language that she used that kind of went through the speech? It was also the speech title, if any of you caught that.
Talked a lot about the word fearless and what ways that this girl Bella was fearless. She like tied that in throughout her whole speech, which was really cool. And it like really stuck with me that like this girl must be really fearless.
Yeah. And so we're not quite there in the content of the class, but we're going to start talking about the use of language in speeches. And so I just wanted to point that out. Like she used a theme, she used a key word that allowed her to begin her speech and transition through her speech and then wrap her speech up really nicely. And so again, I'm not expecting that of you in this speech, but that's just something I wanted to point out. Like maybe there's something that you think stands out. There's a couple of other speeches that I can, I'll make available for you on our Canvas. We don't have the time. It's somebody like screen captured the video from the textbook author on introductions and conclusions. And if you kind of go through about 4 minutes in, there's going to be a series of introductions and conclusions that you can watch. And one of them is called Rhymes with Orange. And they describe someone as like an orange. There's nothing that rhymes with it, but like an orange, they have a tough skin and a soft inside, like kind of talking about so I want you to think about different ways you can tie that into your partner. Because if you're like, hey, today I want to tell you about our classmate, Bob, and, or Sue, and this is what I learned about Bob and Sue when we had a chance to meet. We don't want to know that you had a chance to meet. We don't really care that you went to Starbucks or you met on Zoom. We don't care about that. We don't care that it's an assignment. We don't care that it's a speech. We care that there are words coming out of your mouth and we want it to be worth our time. Does that make sense? So you don't need to say in today in the speech or things like that, or you don't need to say, we met 3 times and talked for an hour, because you could talk for 15 minutes, you can talk for 5 hours, and that doesn't necessarily determine how well your speech is going to be delivered. Any questions on your introduction speech or anything we talked about in class today?
Do you mind giving us a breakdown of how you want the position of our camera and of how our station needs to be?
Yeah, and so this is something that's we're going to learn together. I put some tips on the assignment itself, but like right now I'm standing. I think you guys can tell because I'm swaying a lot, but I think for the speech, if you could maybe stand just a little bit further back to where you're not sitting, because standing is a completely different posture. What I have learned is like my energy levels, actually, this is solo rabbit hole trail, whatever it's called. My energy levels when it comes to teaching and working are so much higher because I'm standing. We're actually not designed to sit as human beings. So stand. I am probably I can't touch my computer. It's probably another foot in front of me. So figure that out. Right now I have the room light on. I have this light. So my lighting is not too bad. It's okay. So think about that. Something to keep in mind is people with ceiling fans. I see 1, 2, 3, 4 ceiling fans or shadows. If you look at your classmates, you'll see Cameron and Joanna have one that you can actually see. Maggie has, you can kind of, I don't know if it's the fan or the shadow of the fan you can see. And Yashalom has in her TV reflection, you can see her ceiling fan. So you want to be mindful of things like that. Be mindful of your background. So in our house, because it's a 3-bedroom house, it's like 1,200 square feet, so it's a nice sized house, but we homeschool, every bedroom's filled. This is the only corner that I have a decent background, so consider that. My camera is just slightly above eye level, so try and work on that. Just look at your classmates right now. This is not to critique them, but if their camera is below their eye level and it's looking up at them, it's kind of a funny angle. Nobody has a camera that is above them, so keep that in mind. It looks like some people have it on their knees or they're kind of tilted back. So you want your camera at eye level as best as possible. You want to be able to stand back. If you have an external microphone, try and figure that out. I'll mute it real quick so I can just move it and show you. So my mic is a USB mic, and it's a boom arm. So let me show you. So I can move it around. I can move it closer to me if I stand further back. I'm not saying that you need to go and, did I blow your ears out, Nathan, or did I mute it okay?
No, it's good. It's actually that's cool.
Okay.
You have that.
Okay, well, I didn't know.
I'm the
Maybe Duffy's just too loud and it's hurting your ears. That's probably what it is. Okay, anyways, so whatever your mic, if you just have a computer or an iPad, that's fine. Just remember you're gonna have to project louder. In the same way that if you and I are really close talking, I'm gonna lower my voice because I don't have to raise it as much. Does that make sense? But as I step further back, I have to project my voice more. So I would encourage you to practice this week, figure out how, like, you can see all sorts of crazy pictures on Twitter and Instagram of people who took a coffee table and a stool and like 4 books and, you know, put their laptop on top of it so it would be eye level. So yeah, work on eye level, work on lighting, work on background, and then that should really help. And honestly, once you figure it out, you'll be able to use that in the future for any speech or presentation you have. And then I would recommend practicing, like not necessarily, you can practice your speech. I definitely recommend that, but practice talking into it. And you don't want to be yelling, but you also don't want to be too quiet. Because remember, we can always turn our volume down if you're too loud, but if you're too quiet, our volumes max out pretty quickly. So I'm hoping for most of you, your volume is halfway or less right now. Is that the case? If you look, is it halfway or less? Most of you, yeah. So that's my plan, because you could turn me down more and that'll be fine. But if I turn my mic down, can you still hear me the same? No, it's a little bit quieter, right? So I have the ability on my mic to turn it up and down. And so just keep that in mind. I know you don't have that, so that's what I'm saying. Project louder, position your camera the best you can. In our home, we have air filters, and ceiling fans make noise, refrigerators make noise. So be mindful of that, because whatever your computer is next to, it's going to pick up all the noise in the room. If you have like a weird echo, which I know some of you do, you could hang like a sheet on the wall. I have actually, for certain recording things, I have different like foam panels, the egg carton foams. But just keep that in mind. If you realize when you listen to it, when you're projecting, it just sounds really echoey, maybe find a curtain or something and just put some blankets around your computer to help kind of capture that echoey sound. So that's a lot of information. The main things I want you to do is get the camera at eye level, look good, sound good. And if you want to like keep working on that, I'll work through that with you, because I had to figure it out myself. And I'm still not 100% where I want to be, but because it's my job, I have to be a little bit further than some of you. So yeah, anything else? All right, so I will post that introduction conclusion video on Canvas here. I'm going to also post the weekly walkthrough. I just recorded it before class, so I got to upload that to YouTube and post it. And then as far as this week, by the end of class time on Friday, so at 10:15 a.m. on Friday, submit to Canvas your speech outline. This is something that I will not take late, because there's no value to you if it comes in late. I mean, if it comes in like Saturday, that's fine. But Sunday, I likely will not be on Canvas. So keep that in mind. If you get it to me today, tomorrow, you're likely to get feedback within 24 hours. But submit your outline. That's the main thing I want you to work on this week, and prepare for your next speech. As far as preparing for your introductory speech, you need to practice, practice, practice. And I know it's weird because you're isolated or confined to a room. You don't necessarily have a live human being that will want to listen to you. If you do, you can torture each other with your speeches. If you want to, maybe you practice your speech to the person that you have interviewed. But practice in front of a mirror. That helps because what you start to do is, a couple of you wear glasses, maybe you touch your glasses a lot. Girls with your hair, like, what are you doing with your hair? Are you touching it? How do you need to position your hair? Obviously, don't chew gum when you're giving a speech because you're going to touch your mouth a lot, and then we just see your gum go up and down. So keep that in mind. What are you doing with your hands? Especially when it's just this much of me, what am I doing with my hands? And so keep that in mind. I also recommend practice recording yourself, and not only for the lights and the sound and all that stuff, but are you looking at the camera? Do you need to get little googly eyes and put them on the side of your camera like Kayla did? Do you need to put a little piece of red tape next to it so you know where to look? Because if I look here, if I'm looking at the screen, am I as engaging if I look at the light? I have a little light next to my camera. So it's like, just practice with that. And as you practice, you'll be able to watch yourself and be like, okay, I should back up a little bit more. I should step up a little bit. Maybe I shouldn't wear the big hoop earrings as they kind of dangle, or maybe this bracelet makes a lot of noise. It's just kind of a trial by fire, trial and error thing. So you'll learn as you go. So I've talked a lot, and I am going to shut up unless you have questions. Go in peace, take to peace, spread to peace. I will see you Wednesday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.